Seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Welcome to Innovating a Game Changer podcast. I'm your innovator, Nevada Smith, and I'm joined by William Parish today. We're going to talk about a number of different topics, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome, William.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah. So, I think the first topic we're going to talk about today is really about execution, right, and the ideas that come out. So we work with a lot of individuals. They have a lot of different ideas, and everybody wants you to sign a non-compete, non-disclosure. And what ends up happening is a lot of those ideas don't actually move it forward because there's an inability to execute, and that's really the hard piece. The ideas are pretty easy to come forward. The execution is the hard bit. So I know you're facing a little bit of that with one of the startups that you're currently working with.
Yeah, that's an understatement to say the least. The company that I'm working with they're very, very hard to get focused on a topic. And when you do, there's no shifting them left or right. And just trying to keep them with the mind and the goal in mind is extraordinarily difficult. They keep wanting to bounce around from idea to idea, and just keeping them on track is near impossible.
So it's all about defining that MVP, right, the minimum viable product, and making sure that you get them down to that set. Now, you did show me a list of those feature sets that you wanted to get in, and it was about a couple of pages long. It was pretty detailed as to what it was that you were looking at doing. So what's your goal? Are you going to do to bring that list down to something that's manageable and actually could be released as a minimum viable product?
Yeah, so whenever they came to me with the ideas, they wanted to get it. This is what they saw. This is how they wanted it to be, and anything less is unacceptable. So just trying to get them to condense it down is a challenge. And I've been in talks with them today. It's going to take a bit longer to get them say, like, look, this is what you want, yes. But at the same time, you need to get an alpha version out there to test the market, to see how the consumers are going to react, because you can do studies all day long, but you're never going to know how people are going to take the product until you put it in front of them, until they actually start using it.
So the features, what's the exercise that you're actually going to go through? I don't know if you've been through a functional taking the functions down to the acceptance criteria. I don't know if I've had you in one of those portions of the workshop yet. But what's your actual plan to take? I'm guessing you probably had 80 features at an individual level, and some of those features might have been multiple features rolled up. So how are you going to get them down to the 10 that you're going to go to market with?
It's going to be, I'm going to do it in everyone's ideas are going to be weighted the same, even though there is a hierarchical status within the company. I don't agree with that hierarchical status, but that's the way that they've decided upon. I'm going to make it very clear that no one person has more weight than the other, and we're going to walk through each of the features. We're going to vote. We're going to do voting. We're going to heat map which ideas people want. Just take some of the things that I've learned from working with you in the workshops, and try and apply it to different areas. We'll see how well that works. Just so time will tell.
So how's your bandwidth on that side? You're a bit choppy in your voice. The internet should be fine. I'm in probably the best place with the Wi-Fi. We have 10 gigabits pumping into the server room, and I'm sitting right next to the server room. And you must have just moved your monitor just slightly to get better Wi-Fi signal, because you just came really good. So that's what you did.
Not questioning it.
Oh, no, it goes choppy again. It'll be a bit annoying for everybody, but it is what it is. So, again, yeah, I can take you through a breakdown, but pretty much what I use is the SAFe 4.5 functional. Or first of all, you start off with the capabilities itself. I believe that the capability that you're dealing with here is really the application itself. Maybe you can break it down into a couple of high-level pieces of functionality. or pieces of capability. But typically you take each one of those feature sets that you've got there, and maybe go through the exercise of actually the heat map exercise, and give everybody the little dots, and have them only have maybe they should only have 10 dots, right? Or maybe you use the ones that I normally use, which is the ones you use for the yard sales with the $2 and the $3 and the $1 on them, and then give everybody a sheet so they can spend, I don't know, maybe it's $10 on the sheet that they can spend, and they can apply that all to one if they really want that feature, or they can apply it to others. And then that way, if everybody's only got 10 dots that they can spend, then the maximum you can end up with theoretically would be 10 times how many people you got in the room. But typical people are going to gravitate towards certain ideas. That might be able to bring your feature set down to maybe 15 to 20, and from there you guys can prioritize them again based on, especially if you're using the value set that I talked about, which is the $1, the $2, the $3, the 75 cent, the 50 cent, and the 25 cent. If you just basically rank them at that point versus how much dollars they got, right? So let's say the top idea got $7.25, then that would be the first feature that you would implement because it's got the highest dollar value. And that's almost a way of going out to the market without going out to the market. So I think that'll be really, really helpful. I can take you through one of those exercises tomorrow, or you can just take a look at the YouTube video that I did on that one.
That's more of how I was thinking of. I was definitely thinking about taking it that route. The one problem that I foresee is these people have been working with this idea for, I want to say, a year and a half now. So you can tell that they've had this idea in their mind for a while. So once you work with an idea for so long, you stop seeing how everyone else sees it. You only see what you want to see. You get blinded, you get tunnel vision. So trying to break them of that tunnel vision is definitely the challenge.
Yeah, not only that too, if they've been working on a year and a half, 18 months is a long time, right? So the market is moving. So you should do another market scan to see if there's anybody that's actually came out to the market and actually done it now, because it may have moved on. There may be someone already doing this. And that's one of the other things we talked about when we started off, was just execution, right? So ideas, for somebody to sit on an idea for 18 months allows so many other people to come in the market. You lose that first to market advantage. Not that that's always a bad thing, because you can see where those individuals are failing, and you can kind of come in and do it in a better way, or bring your feature set down to a minimum viable product that can actually sneak in and be easier to use. A lot of the apps that, the first to market apps out there aren't the ones that gain the market share, because they tried to do just what your team's trying to do, which is everything. And so they came out with this thing that was not user friendly. It's not got the right customer value in it, and therefore people aren't even using a lot of those features that go into it. One of the biggest feature sets I ever worked on was about a $425,000 portion of a project to add specific set of features, and so there was a high cost associated with that. The internal team wanted that so bad that we invested all that time on it. Now, when it went out to market, it had in a year it had a 0.02% utilization of that particular feature. And even when we marketed that particular feature, and this was in the healthcare industry, even when we marketed that particular feature set by providing, if you use this feature set, you actually get a discount on your health insurance, meaning that we would chip in for a portion of your copay, so to bring your copay down if you would utilize that. Even the utilization factor didn't go up and didn't move at all. And the reason for that was because the internal team thought that the feature set was needed. You go out to the market, the feature set's not. Wouldn't have been great to do a proto IO, interview 5 customers, realize that 5 customers aren't going to use it, and either stop there or say, well, maybe we missed the mark on the customer there, let's get the feedback and adapt that feature into something that would be utilized. So, those are the other things you could do as well. Maybe put on that last day of the design sprint, last 2 days of a Google Ventures design sprint, crack out a prototype for it and get that feedback from the market, unless they're scared of this NDA from these customers, right?
Yeah, they're pretty scared of the NDA. They have to have an NDA signed, and I proved to them that there's not really a reason to have an NDA, because I showed them the first time I met them with some quick Googling that, hey, look, that idea has already been done, and I basically said that where the way we go from here is, one, you make it better, or two, you take aspects from it from another industry and you put it into the idea that you have. So I basically uprooted their idea from day one. So just trying to steer them in a direction where they haven't thought of is definitely what I'm trying to do right now. Is I'm trying to make them realize that, hey, your idea is not the only one out there, which is
the
challenging.
other thing they can do too is start stacking those ideas, right? So if you take something from one industry and take something from another industry, and you bring those two together, that provide more value than those other things on their own. So you see what other people in other industries are actually using, the feature sets that they're using, and then you bring those in, you combine them, and that stacking effect is what brings value into the particular industry that you're going after. So that's another opportunity too, to do a small workshop activity where you're doing that. You're taking a look at the market and you're bringing those things in as well. But I think the best thing you can do is go ahead and, for the people here, I've just happened to have these on the desk, but I've got so many of them floating around. But use these particular, and I know William can't see it, but use the yard sale and just say, okay, everybody's got whatever's on this particular set to spend, and when it's gone, it's gone, and that's the feature set that you're going to go with. I think that will drive you down to something that could be implementable, and then just cut it off at 10. Say 10 is it, right? So don't tell them that going in, but then just stack rank them based on the dollar value that they got, and then say, okay, here's our line in the sand. This is where we're going to take it. And then if they say, well, we can't move forward without features, let's say 13 and 15 out of the stack that was stacked ranked, well, then you say, well, what do you want to take out to put those back in? So at least get you down to a set that's not, how many was on that list? Probably 60, 80?
It was way too many. Looking back at it, it was an unnecessary amount.
Yeah, and I think even if you just go through a design sprint with them, a full set of design sprint, spend that 5 days, those 6 hours a day for 5 days, even if it's over a number of different weekends, and maybe you can condense, because you already know your feature set. You might be able to get away with just doing straight prototype if you can get it down to a set of 10, and then go into the customer values, which means you could do it theoretically just in a weekend. Yeah,
it's also challenging because they only like to meet once a week for like an hour, and we usually do it Sunday afternoon, and just trying to get them to meet more often or have a more open line of communication. It seems like they want this idea out there, they want this app created, but they're not willing to put in the effort.
Yeah, and startups certainly are a large effort. So one weekend a month. This is not the Army Reserves, right?
Yeah.
1 quarter, 1 weekend a month. It's got to become your life and all consuming to get these things forward. Unless they've got a lot of funding behind them and they can drag it out. But again, the market's going to have moved. Somebody else is going to snap it up by the time you get out there. So. Yeah,
exactly. And just trying to make them realize that is, it's been a fight every time we've talked. It's usually me just going at it with the founder, like, look, you have to realize that this industry that we're in, that we're trying to get in, is just, it didn't exist 5 years ago. And in 5 years, look at what it's become, and look at where it's going in the next 5 years. You can't comprehend where it's going, and trying to get them to realize that is extremely, extremely frustrating.
Yeah, well, just look at Amazon Echo and the work that we've been doing in that space. I swear I get an email from those guys every day and say, hey, look at this new feature set that's in here. You can take advantage of this. And I can't keep up with the amount of work that's going there. I know you and I are also going to attend the AWS or the is it the Echo conference in Atlanta?
The Alexa Dev Day.
Yeah, Alexa Dev Day, and then we're trying to get into the Advanced Dev Day in New York City. So if anybody's listening to this and wants to catch up with us, we're certainly going to be there. The one in Atlanta. What's the date on that? Do you remember?
September 19th.
Yeah, so on the 19th, we'll be there taking a look at all the feature sets and try and get further ideas about how do we advance what we're doing in that space. Because, again, I think that's the next direction that things are going to be moving into. Automation around speech is going to be fantastic.
Everything I'm reading it's all pointing towards virtual assistants, and it's amazing. Just the sheer amount of development work that's going behind it from both like the Amazon standpoint and the freelancer side it's absolutely incredible. Just how quickly this field is expanding.
And speaking of Amazon, what's your take on them taking over Whole Foods?
I'm okay with it. I'm surrounded by about 3 Whole Foods within like a 5-mile radius of me. And the fact that they cut prices up to 40% on some of the products today, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I've been struggling with paying for my whole paycheck every week to go there. That's the joke, right? It's not Whole Foods, it's whole paycheck. So I was surprised how much those prices come down. I do a lot of fruit and vegetables type stuff, do a lot of juicing and things like that. And it was painful paying $3 a pound for, organic apples to juice when you're throwing all that fiber away after your juices. So I was actually happy about that. I'm wondering whether it's going to say, it's going to have Amazon on the front of the doors now.
It's going to be really interesting, especially I still have one of the old Harry's markets near me before Harry's got taken over by Whole Foods, and it still has the Harry's brand on it. So I'm curious as to how Amazon's going to react to those as well. Basically, what was still branded as the old stores.
Well, Harry's is an institution in Marietta, so Harry's Farmers Market, I remember going there when I first got to the States back in '94. And eventually the prices just continued to go through the roof. So good old Harry, who opened that store, I'm guessing that's his name. I'd be a bit disappointed if he loses it, because that and the Big Chicken are staples of Marietta, Georgia, right?
Oh yeah, the Big Chicken just got a massive fresh coat of paint the other month.
Yeah, because there was a period of time where the eyes stopped moving there for a while. But they sort of
it's funny. One of my neighbors growing up, they grew up in Marietta, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we used to get directions based off of the Big Chicken. Was you go 5 miles down, take a left."
Yeah, it's definitely a directional landmark, and that's definitely what somebody told me of how to get somewhere. And I was like, Big Chicken, because I just got here. I don't know what the Big Chicken is. So that was days before MapQuest, and that's before you and Google Maps.
I barely remember MapQuest. Now I have a real-time map at my fingertips that gives me live information, including where the police are, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that you talk about, how quickly things change. So just think about the days where, and again, you're probably too young when I had to actually go to MapQuest thinking it was the best thing. Hey, look, I can print these directions out. So whenever I was taking a long trip, cross states and stuff, you'd take these down with you and you'd take a look, and it'd say 120 130 miles to the next place where you've got to turn. And all of a sudden, you're 40 miles past that place going, should we turn by now? Sure enough.
I remember my parents talking about that. I remember my sister saying I had it good with not having dial-up growing up. That was I can't imagine having dial-up or having to print directions or even print anything for that matter. I do everything on my computer. So
And so the next iteration of that was TomTom or Magellan, I think, was one of the first.
The Garmin as well.
Garmin, yeah.
I still have a Garmin in my car actually, because my car's out of date and doesn't have an nav system built into it yet.
But yeah, your nav system's in your hand, right? It's on your phone. So,
exactly.
The last car that my wife purchased too. She wanted the nav system because I could never get her to use the phone. Now every time we go anywhere, she's using a phone. So there's $2,500 I'll never get back.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so I think we talk about these evolutions and these movements through the technologies that are coming out, and you start to talk about 18 months. So much changes in just 18 months. I think the move from MapQuest to Google Maps, and then real-time maps on your phone. The evolution there was less than 10 years from cycle to cycle. I think the longevity, even though the Garmins and everything had been around a while, I think the longevity of those things, it was a very big hype cycle. It went up real quick and it dropped off real quick as soon as the phone had that capability. Same thing with the cameras, right? The camera on the phone. When was the last time you actually picked up a real camera?
Yeah, I only use my phone camera, and even then I barely use it. My mom still has an actual camera. We have a couple film cameras from whenever my sister was in high school, when she was doing photography or something like that. But I've always I'll just pick up my phone. The quality's not the best. You still can't beat the quality of an actual camera, of an actual lens.
Well, that's actually a really good point that you bring up. It's quality versus availability, or I don't even know what you call that, but the fact that you can carry this device in your pocket and it does have that, you're quite willing to give up the quality, right? Because the availability of that thing being with you at all times is amazing.
Yeah, being able to say, yeah, you can take 20,000 pictures on your phone. And have it all of these other features. People are like, yeah, sign me up. I'll take that any day of the week.
And I was thinking about the same thing during the Eclipse as well. It was really good, even though I wasn't under. You went under direct Eclipse, right? You got full Eclipse where you were, or no?
No.
Yeah.
Most of my family was. I was at school.
Yeah, unfortunately, school got in the way of a 400-year event. But
I'll go over to Texas in 2034 to see it.
Yeah, and there's another one in Australia in 2028, I believe. But there's a great map you can go if you haven't experienced it. It's just a plane flight away. But and that'll get you into the deep web of YouTube rabbit hole of flat Earth. So be careful, because the Eclipse and the flat Earthers will be after you. But I was going to say that my experience of the Eclipse through YouTube, by everybody seeing this, I don't recall ever being. I mean, it was a big event because it went straight across America, but I don't ever recall being able to get this much footage on it and this much views from this many different angles. And did you see the video? I'll stick a link down the bottom to it, where the International Space Station actually crossed the sun.
Yep, it photobombed the solar eclipse.
Yeah, so they went out there. There was a bunch of individuals filming it, but there was a number of people that specifically went to a specific spot with a specific calculation, a specific time, did a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and he goes, "Oh, I saw it." So for me to see him and his reaction, seeing the space station going across the sun at high speed, was just amazing. And then, of course, if you click on that video, you get other videos that recorded the same thing with much better high-definition cameras, with even better quality, so you could see that moving across in slow motion. And it was, even though it was the size of a match head, it was amazing to just see that, here it is. There's the space station zooming across. Just lets you know how small you really are.
Yeah, no, it's I think this has to be the first time that we have gotten that much documentation of a solar eclipse, just because of the sheer number of people that had all of the equipment going across from the western seaboard to the eastern seaboard. I'm curious as to see how much data NASA got collected from it.
Yeah, because they were asking for, what would they sent out information. I guess I could bring it up on there's this great thing called Google that you can actually do searches on. I'll get that off the screen. It went in front of you for a second. But NASA, what were they asking for?
Just photos of the eclipse. I think they put together a compilation of as much photo as they could, as much photography as they could, just to get one continuous stream from west coast to east coast of the solar eclipse.
Oh, that's what they were doing. Yeah, there was eclipse weather and eclipse traffic and all sorts of stuff. Hey, did you hear about if there was any problems with all those people flocking to those specific areas that were directly under the total eclipse?
One of my friends, he drove up for the day. He said driving back, what should have taken him an hour and a half, took him 5 hours driving back.
Yeah, definitely want to stay overnight.
No, it's that drive. It was actually really funny because Google Maps didn't know how to handle all of the traffic on a Thursday afternoon, and it was so much heavier than it was expected to be. Google Maps just kind of said, "I don't know what to do with this information, guys."
And you use Waze, is that right? Waze, yeah. So I bet you that got overloaded as well. Yeah, you know what? There is a massive Flickr pool out here for the total eclipse. If you go to NASA.
Oh yeah, there has to be. I would assume
it is some of the spectacular photos in between all the advertisements that they're making you do on Flickr. But I think it was a weird experience to see the way the light changed and everything, especially the shadows become all, I don't even know what you call it. What were they? Crisp, right?
Yeah, the shadows actually showed how the eclipse was. It showed like the crescent shape of it. That had to have been one of the most interesting parts of it, in my opinion. Not being able to see the full eclipse is just seeing the shadows and the brief bit of the sun that was being shown.
Yeah, so I went out to NASA and saw some of these things. There's some amazing photography out here on it. Now, I actually live streamed the event from my front porch as well, directly with my whole 360 pixel camera. I had to downsize the resolution. And of course you can't see it without a decent lens cap on it. So, but it was interesting just to see the way the light had changed. Even though the camera, the Logitech that I was using was a 1080p, it was adjusting the light, but it was quite strange to go back and actually see that later on. I also put that up on the YouTube channel. If you zoom across, you can see it go real dark when it kind of almost got completely
97% totality, I think, is what we were at, or something.
Yeah,
close to that.
I saw the crescent on one side of the moon, and then I handed the one pair of glasses that we had around to the family. And when it got back to me, the crescent was on the other side, and I went, "Oh, dang, I missed it." So did it happen? Did it happen? And then all of a sudden, everything was coming light again. But again, watching some of those YouTube videos on those people that saw the total one, I am definitely going to get on a plane and go and see that. That's definitely.
Oh yeah, my mom was saying that whenever she was under the full eclipse, that whenever it went completely dark, all of the dogs just started howling.
Well, the cicada. I don't know if
that's
how you say it here.
Yeah, cicadas started coming out as well. Yeah, it was
the birds.
It kind of messed with all of the cycles of the animals.
Yeah. So strange goings on. So you can just imagine, 500 years ago, if you could have predicted that thing, which most of the astronomers probably could. And I'm speaking out of my butt here because I don't know if it was 500 years ago or maybe 1,000 years ago or whenever. But you just think about the people would have been panicking because it went dark, right? If they had got hit by a total eclipse.
There's actually one culture that did calculate it, because that's how they calculated the king's reign, is from eclipse to eclipse.
Wow.
That was the reign cycle of the reigning king. It was really interesting to read about, actually.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out too. Put some links out there to King Fufu, who apparently lived 400 years. So maybe it wasn't full eclipse to full eclipse. It might have been partial eclipse or something.
I mean, a full eclipse happens somewhere on the Earth every 14 months. You just have to go find it.
Right, but was the tribe there? That's the question, right?
No,
I guess these celestial objects are on these planes. They actually say the North Star will change too, but it'll be, 1 million years from now, and it'll be another new North Star because, everything's moving, I guess. So that it's great. We're at 30 minutes, man. Thanks for
Fantastic.
joining me again. And we'll be back, and I'm hoping to get Will on multiple times. Maybe we'll get a live stream going, or a recording going with a few other people getting on the call. So anything before we go? There's some stuff coming up at Kennesaw State University. Is there a hackathon? Is that generally available, or is that just for students only? But I guess students are listening to this as well.
Currently, this year, because it's the first year we're doing the hackathon, it's only you have to be a student to compete. We have 6 different companies coming in with 9 different competitions. I think we have 250 to 300 students signed up.
Wow.
I'm one of those, so we'll see how that goes. I think one of the competitions is a Google Home based, so I think I have that one in the bag with all the work I've been doing on the virtual assistant.
Are they giving you the Google Home device to do that on, or can you do it on your phone because you've got an Android as well? Right?
You can. They have a similar testing environment as to what the Amazon Echo has. I'll just have to see. If they don't provide us one, I may look into getting one, just because the virtual assistants are always great to have laying around the house.
Maybe they'll also do what Amazon did recently, which is, if you submit a skill, they send you a puck for free. So maybe
something like that
as well. All right, Wimp, I appreciate you joining me again, and I'll see you next time, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye.